I think we never have this conversation. We never do. We never have this conversation where so that someone can actually say what it is that they're afraid of versus what they see on television. In '94, there was in December on my birthday, a little boy that lived downstairs on the first floor set fire to his room. And so unfortunately, we became homeless from that. Actually, I thought after the fire was over, we would just go back in the house, but that isn't what happened. And so we didn't. We had 24 hours to move, and at the time, I had 5 children, and I had to move 5 bedrooms of furniture in 24 hours. And then we were placed in a temporary shelter because at the time I was working. And in order to get into a regular family shelter, you had to have been without a job for 30 days. So I had to not exactly quit my job, but I went on leave and stayed in Lynn. And we filled out all these every time there was an application to fill out, or because the fire was sort of a blessing in disguise because it put us as a priority one as a homeless family. So where it was a horrible experience, we were able to then become a Section 8 holder for having been a priority one. So that's what began the really, trying to keep that and be able to live affordably because and it's really sort of like a catch-22 because you keep your Section 8. In order to do it, you have to stay below a certain level. But in my field, which was childcare, and I've always worked in childcare settings, they don't pay you enough to be able to afford what a regular 3-4 bedroom unit would be for my family size. So it was always this crazy balancing act of wanting to be able to make more money but risking being homeless again. And if you've ever been homeless, you don't want to be there again, especially with 5 children.
Before I thought that affordable housing would be affordable, and now I think affordable housing is not really affordable. Just given the way that the housing is set up, a lot of times, I don't know if I said this before, but there's one flat rate for the affordable housing unit, and that's way outside of my budget, or the income that it's based on is before I spend all my money on daycare. I could choose not to work and have no income and probably, I don't even know where I was going with that thought. But basically, working and sending my kid to daycare is almost like a waste of time. It's like I'm working to send her to daycare and I can do nothing else.
Yeah, it's a long journey. I'll sum it up this way. I was a homeless veteran like many other veterans and poor working class people for that matter. I was in a veterans shelter for a long time and couch hopping with a lot of friends. And it took me 10 years to get a Section 8 voucher. After I got the voucher, the positive aspect to that was, I had housing, but I was put in a very dangerous area, I'm in a drug area. And so it's just a very dangerous area. And I had to get out of that apartment. I moved to another apartment in Mission Hill. That was a little better, but that wasn't a very great area too. I mean, the area was okay. It was the landlords that were bad. I mean, they were real slumlords. I ended up taking them to court, and it was a class action. We won the suit. You know, get a lot of tenant rights there. And after that, I had some housing that was okay, but I would say most of the time I ran into like bad management and slumlords. And the other thing that people with subsidized housing are subjected to is, being pushed to not just working class areas, but just some really bad areas or dangerous areas. And some areas where they don't want to be, where they may not have access to the T. So it's, on the one hand, affordable housing is very important. There's not enough of it. That's my experience.
And I think it's a shame that we go and we make these apartments way out of the range of a working person and then say, well, you should be homeless, or live somewhere substandard. I don't like the whole project base, as you want to ask that next question. When you have public housing, so to speak, that it keeps everybody in one space, I think you then make those people a target. You make them a target. And it's just not right. It's not fair. You think of the children that are coming up in that, and people saying, oh, you're labeled, you're less than, you're not as good as, and you already have your child in a mentality that kills their esteem, kills their self-esteem. So, or, doesn't even give them a chance to have self-esteem, because then they're looking at it like, well, this is the way my life is supposed to be. And this is normal. And it gets to a point where it's like, if you try to get better, they're thinking you're trying to be better than them, or you're trying to do something that you shouldn't be doing. So, and I think that's a really big part of that mental state, like giving less education to people in those poorer areas.
For anybody that has the belief that someone that needs affordable housing is lazy, me being one of them sometimes, that's bullshit, because the people that work the hardest and that actually make a salary and try to do it on their own are the ones that often get screwed over by the system. If you're making an income anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000 and you're a single person with kids, you're f***ed. If you have kids, that's it. Say goodbye to having like any sort of opportunity to grow, because it's basically like being stuck.
It would only make sense that if someone can't afford their housing and you're going to give them an assistance to be self-sufficient, not completely dependent. Because what is going on right now with the affordable housing situation is it makes you think you have to stay poor to keep it, or you're going to be homeless, or you're going to be back out in the streets, or you're not going to be able to have a place for yourself over, for your children, a roof over their head. Instead of saying, hey, listen, we're going to give you this for so much time for you to, work, match what we're going to give you. If you think about it, that's less money. Over however much time it is that a person can keep a Section 8, the state is paying way more money than if they had gone on and got that person a house.
Right.
Or helped that person get a house, because then they have a permanent home that they can pay for their own insurance, and then they, and you get a different sense of belonging. And that makes more sense. It's way more economical. Yeah. But here we are spending all this money to keep the poor poor and the rich rich, and keep the separation.
I mean, I think that I would offer more opportunities to working moms. If I could recreate the system, I would have daycare as part of something the government funds. Like, I'd have it like public school would start at daycare. That way women that want to have a career have a chance to do so and can have a family. Because right now, I think the way that the system's set up, if you're a single woman, you can't have a career. Even women that are married, you can't have a career because all the money you would make would go to sending your kid to daycare. It's just, I feel like the system's set up to make women fail. And that goes for housing. Because most, like I said, most money when you're a single mom goes to daycare.
Well, if you want to find an affordable unit, you have to be ready to spend months of your life and hours in your day to looking for one. You have to find it, whether it's an advertisement or a website or a flyer. Then you have to apply for it, and the application generally results in a lottery, and then you have to wait for potentially months for the results of the lottery to slog their whole way through. So it's, I give presentations and I'll often say to people, it's a game of survival of the fittest. It really is. The people who can just put in the time and stay focused. And it's kind of crazy unfair that that's how it works, right? Like, it's not based really on anything except pure luck. Are you the lucky one that found out about the opportunity, and are you the lucky one that won the lottery? And that doesn't feel good to me, that's how we disperse a precious resource. But given that there are hundreds of applications for every one unit of affordable housing, I don't have a better proposal or a better method for distributing those resources, but it really has nothing to do with how talented a person is or how deserving they are. It's really just luck. So opposition to affordable housing is often sort of hidden in the context of, it's too dense, or too many cars, it's just too many people. But it's usually really, if you kind of get down to people's real, like what's lying in their heart, it's that they're afraid of people who are different than them. And they are afraid that change, both in the creation of a new physical space, but also the addition of new people to their community, will somehow disrupt their lives unpleasantly. And I can understand why people are afraid of change. But you got to kind of look that fear in the eye and say, well, you know what? I might be afraid of this, but it's not a foregone conclusion that this is going to ruin my neighborhood or my life. And second, it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to share my community with people who need to be here. And it's going to be good for me in the end to be in neighborhood and in community with a diverse group of people, both in terms of economics, race, age, family type. All that is good for the neighborhood and good for the community and good for the people who live in it.
I got the sense that our country tends to want to keep people in groups, in separation. And I think that's really a shame, because it's a contradiction to what we are. It really is. It's a contradiction to what this country is about. For us to never be told there was affordable housing in Newton, or that there was affordable housing in every city that gets state funding, So I never knew that until I came here, got on the board of Can Do, and learned these things. And it was like, wow, And so then I realized I'm a U.S. citizen, generation after generation. I don't have to stay anywhere. There's the pursuit of happiness is for all of us. And I think that's the whole thing that affordable housing allows people to have.